In a country rich in culture, where ancient traditions dance hand in hand with modern dreams, where languages, music, and beliefs paint the land with vibrant color. Sometimes, love dares to cross boundaries that society doesn't welcome. This is the story of Chinedu and Amina. He was Igbo, born in the heart of the East, raised on the rhythm of drums and Catholic hymns. She was Hausa, graceful, devout, a daughter of the North where the call to prayer echoes through the morning air. One Christian, one Muslim, one South, one North. In the eyes of tradition, they were never meant to meet, let alone fall in love. But the heart does not ask for permission. The world around them said no, family, friends, faith, even fear tried to stand in their way. But their hearts said yes. They tried to stop them. But love won. Chinedu was in his third year, deep into the challenges of mechanical engineering, long hours of lectures, late nights with machines and formulas, and dreams of building a better future. Amina had just been admitted to study political science, full of excitement and hope, eager to understand the world and make her voice heard. Their worlds were different, shaped by different dreams, different studies, different fates. But fate had other plans. It was during a campus volunteer event, a community cleanup drive, where students from every faculty came together to give back. The sun was warm, and the air filled with chatter and laughter as hands picked up trash and swept pathways. She wore her hijab, modest and proud, a symbol of her faith and identity. He wore a simple cross around his neck, a quiet reminder of his beliefs. And yet, despite the differences that should have separated them, their eyes met across the crowd. In that brief moment, something unspoken passed between them. Their gaze locked, curious, hesitant, and electric. And from that instant, as friends, nothing more. It started with quiet conversations under the shade of mango trees, away from the noise of campus life. Amina would sit cross-legged with her notebook, and Chinedu would lean against the tree trunk, casually tossing pebbles, talking about school, life, and dreams. They shared assignments, offered each other help with difficult topics. She helped him refine his essay introductions. He explained formulas she never thought she'd understand. What started as partnership in academics slowly became something deeper. There were jokes, soft, clever ones that only made sense to the two of them. She'd smile when he said something ridiculous. He'd watch her laugh like it was the rarest sound in the world. Respect came first. A deep admiration for each other's minds, values, and goals. But then, respect grew into affection. And affection, quiet, slow, undeniable, bloomed into something more. Neither of them planned it. They didn't sit down and decide to fall in love. But hearts don't always ask for permission. And theirs had already begun the journey. As news of their growing closeness began to spread, so did the whispers. At first, it was just murmurs in hallways. Glances exchanged in lecture rooms. Then came the voices, louder, sharper, judgmental. He's just using her. She's naive. She's going to convert him. These girls know how to play the long game. Doesn't she have shame? Her family must be disappointed. How can he, a Christian, fall for her? She's not one of us. Everyone had an opinion. Classmates, friends, even strangers. Some saw their friendship as rebellion. Others called it foolishness. And yet, in the middle of the noise, in the eye of the storm, there were just two young souls. Not trying to make a statement. Not trying to prove anyone wrong. Just trying to hold on to something pure. Something honest. Something that, in a divided world, felt. It was about connection. And they were doing everything they could to protect it, before the world tore it apart. There were nights Amina cried herself to sleep. She hid her tears under her pillow, whispering silent prayers into the dark, asking Allah for strength, for clarity, for peace. The weight of whispers, the glances from her course mates, the cold distance growing between her and her family, it all became too much. And still, she loved him. Chinedu, too, was breaking in his own way. He stopped attending fellowship. Not because he lost his faith, but because the stares, the questions, the indirect summons about unequally yoked relationships became too heavy to bear. "We can't keep living like this," Amina said one evening, her voice low, her eyes tired. "In secret. In fear. It's exhausting." Chinedu looked at her, silent for a moment, then nodded. "Then let's stop hiding." But they both knew, choosing love publicly meant choosing battle. It meant family confrontations, religious backlash, social exile. It meant standing in front of a world that was ready to tear them apart and refusing to back down. And deep down, they knew the truth. They weren't ready. Not yet. One day, they stopped talking. Not with anger. Not with shouting. Not even with a goodbye. Just silence. A heavy, reluctant silence that settled between them like a curtain. Amina's parents had found out more than they were meant to. The late night calls. The shared library sessions. The lingering walks across campus. Her father, furious and afraid of shame, gave her a choice. Leave him, or leave this house. And forget school while you're at it. Her mother didn't even speak. Just looked away. Meanwhile, Chinedu received a call from his uncle, the man who paid his school fees. "You think you're a man now? Dating a Hausa girl. A Muslim. Good. Then start paying your own bills." The pressure was too much. But because the world around them refused to evolve. Because tradition screamed louder than truth. Because duty was chained to identity. And neither of them could afford to lose everything, not yet. For a whole year, they didn't speak. No messages. No accidental run-ins. Just memories. Just silence. Just two hearts pretending to move on, while quietly breaking, piece by piece. But fate has a sense of humor. After graduation, after distance, silence, and a year of aching what-ifs, destiny made its move. NYSC posted both of them to Abuja. Of all the states in Nigeria. Of all the timing in the world. There they were. Day one of orientation camp. The sun high, the air buzzing with new uniforms, fresh hopes, and strangers becoming friends. And then, across the sea of white and green, through the noise of marching boots and echoing instructions, their eyes met. Again. But this time, they weren't the same. They were older now. Wiser. A little more scarred. A little more guarded. But still, somehow, still in love. The moment stretched between them like a second chance. Later that evening, as the camp quieted down and the noise faded, they found themselves sitting together under the stars, just like old times. He looked at her, searching her eyes. "Are you still afraid?" he asked gently. She paused, and then whispered, "I'm tired of fear." And in that moment, something inside them both shifted. That night, they held hands in secret, behind one of the dorms, away from the curious eyes and judgmental stares. Their fingers intertwined like two puzzle pieces that had always belonged together. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. But it was powerful. Because their hearts knew. This wasn't the end. It was the beginning again. After NYSC, neither of them returned home. They stayed in Abuja. Not because it was easy, but because it was theirs. The city gave them a fresh start, away from the old judgments, the suspicious stares, the expectations of who they should or shouldn't love. They found a small apartment on the outskirts of town. A place with peeling paint and a leaking faucet, but also laughter in the kitchen and quiet prayers before bed. They got jobs. They paid rent. Shared bills. Shared dreams. They prayed separately, Chinedu rising early for Sunday Mass, Amina facing the Qibla in quiet devotion, but they loved deeply. There were no arguments about conversion. No demands to change. Just respect. Just understanding. Just two hearts learning to coexist, not in spite of their differences, but because of them. Amina found purpose working with women's rights NGOs. She spoke up for the voiceless, the silenced, the forgotten. Chinedu immersed himself in code and late-night debugging, building systems and dreaming of apps that could change lives. They weren't rich. They didn't drive flashy cars or dine in fancy restaurants. But they were finally free. Free from hiding. Free from fear. Free to just be. And in a world that once tried to pull them apart, they were now building a life, not with noise or rebellion, but with quiet courage and unwavering love. One day, Amina went home. Alone. It had been over 2 years. The house looked the same, the old gate with the loose hinge, the bougainvillea by the fence, the prayer mat still folded neatly by the doorway. Her father was seated on the porch, a cup of tea in his hand, his eyes distant, but not cold. She braced herself. She expected shouting, accusations, demands. But instead, he just looked at her and asked, quietly, "Is he treating you well?" Her eyes welled up as she nodded. That was it. No lecture. No apology. Just a father chew. A week later, her mother called. "How are you?" she asked gently. Then, after a pause, "And how is that your friend?" The words were cautious, but the tone held something softer. Something that felt like grace. Meanwhile, in Chinedu's home, the shift was slower. But real. His parents still didn't talk about her openly. There were no invitations, no warm embraces. But the silence became less tense. The judgment less sharp. And then, one evening, a simple message from his younger brother lit up his phone. "You look happy. That's all that matters." And in those few words, years of pain, of rejection, of fighting to be understood, began to unravel. Not completely. Not all at once. But love, sometimes, doesn't need grand gestures. Sometimes, all it needs is a crack for the light to start coming in. They didn't need a crowd. Just a courtroom. A few friends. A judge who smiled more than he spoke. A Quran in her hand. A Bible in his. Her veil, soft ivory lace draped with dignity, not defiance. His agbada, simple, royal blue, ironed to perfection by trembling hands that knew the weight of this day. They stood side by side. No band. No choir. No performance. Just two souls, tired of hiding. Tired of waiting for approval that may never come. Tired, but ready. When they said "I do," it wasn't just to each other. It was to everything they had been through. The stolen glances in fellowship. The heartbreak of letting go. The loneliness of exile. The joy of reunion. The slow, uncertain acceptance of their families. It was a vow to their faith, both of them. Different, but deep. A vow to build, not break. To raise children who would never have to choose between love and family. To walk boldly in a world that once tried to silence them. Outside, the city moved on like any other day. Buses honked. Hawkers shouted. Life rushed past. But inside that courtroom. Because it had won. Quietly. Powerfully. Eternally. Today, they have a son. A boy with curious eyes and a laugh that sounds like freedom. His name is Amarachi, God's grace. Not chosen lightly. Not for fashion. But because grace is the only word that makes sense. Grace, that held them when the world wanted them torn apart. Grace, that whispered try again when they almost gave up. Grace, that carried them from stolen moments to shared mornings. His small hands wrap around Chinedu's fingers. His mother sings to him in Hausa. His father teaches him to code in the evenings. He doesn't yet know the battles fought before his birth. But he will. One day. And when he does, he'll learn not just about love, but about brave love. The kind that doesn't need a stage. The kind that bends, but does not break. The kind that builds a home not on approval, but on purpose. Not every day is perfect. There are still awkward family gatherings. Still phone calls that go unanswered. Still relatives who say, it would have been easier if you just married one of your own. But Amina and Chinedu smile. Because they know what the others don't. Love was never meant to be easy. It was meant to be worth it. And today, in the laughter of their son, in the quiet joy of shared tea, in the daily, ordinary peace of their home, they know they chose right. To the lovers who are tired of fighting, tired of explaining yourselves, tired of hiding in the shadows, pretending it's just friendship, tired of the stares, the silence, the subtle shaming. Hear this. You are not weak for being weary. You are not wrong for wanting peace. But don't rush. Don't rebel blindly and call it freedom. Don't mistake impulse for courage. Grow. Heal. Learn how to hold love with steady hands, not trembling fists. And when you're ready, not when you're pressured, not when you're con. Not the loud kind that needs to prove itself, but the kind that speaks gently and stays. The kind that can survive not being posted. The kind that bends for growth, but does not break for opinion. The world may not clap for you at first. They may frown. They may whisper. But sometimes, the world only respects what it sees still standing after the storm. Amina and Chinedu stood. And when the storm passed, they were still holding hands. Quiet. Oh. Together. They tried to stop them. But love won. If you find value in the story, don't hesitate to hit that like button and subscribe so that you don't miss out on these powerful stories.